I'd now like to introduce our next panel, Elevating the Plateful, continuing on from the theme of what Sam spoke about. I'd like to invite on stage Stacey, Plaine, who's the Director of Marketing for the W Brisbane, a fellow Brisbane person like myself. And we've got Oswin, Ribeiro, Hotel Manager, Radisson, Blue Plaza, Sydney. Sam, of course, from Merivale, and a great food and beverage operator in hotels, Matt Murray, Director of Food and Beverage for Ovolo Hotels. Please welcome the stage. Thank you.
Just to quickly introduce myself, I'm Stacey. I'm the Director of Marketing at W Brisbane. I've been there for 3 years and I've spent majority of my career working for Marriott International, mainly in the UK and in Europe. I've held various different roles, but majority in marketing and food and beverage marketing in particular. One of my career highlights was actually winning a Shark Tank style competition with Marriott International. So I got to actually build my own bar on the rooftop of Park Lane Hotel in Mayfair. And it was there where I really got my hands dirty, I rolled up my sleeves and really started to understand operationally how bars worked. My careers led me to the Maldives, where I opened a luxury resort. And during COVID, I actually opened my own agency. So I've done a little bit of everything. So thank you for having me here. And I'll hand over to our panel today. So I'd like to introduce Matt from Ovolo. Is it Ovolo or Ovolo?
Ovolo. Yeah, thank you for having me here today. It's obviously a pleasure to get in front of a great room of people and talk about F&B, and food and beverage is my passion. It's a career I'd like to say that I chose myself. My parents didn't push me into. I come from a family of hospitality owner operators. My dad had a very sort of niche little great steakhouse as a young person growing up. So I was washing dishes in the kitchen, and then progressed to front of house, and that's kind of that started my journey. Joined some really amazing operators, and one of which I think Sam and I crossed over very briefly at Merivale. That beautiful precinct at establishment was one of my portfolio. Was in my portfolio. I oversaw those businesses at my time at Merivale, and it was a beautiful experience. Great company, and I very fond of my time there. But I probably do draw upon just a little bit more about those moments that were with those niche operators. That's where you kind of get hands-on and you learn a lot about, hospitality and who you are and what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you grow and develop from there. So, hospitality lifer have recently joined Ovolo under Dave Baswell and Wayne Taranto. We are hyperbolic, eclectic. We are different. We are unconventional, and we wear it as a badge of honor. And it's great. Have that passion, that freedom, that bandwidth within your role. Especially my role, overseeing the portfolio for Australia is fantastic. So yeah, really enjoyable experience so far, and very thankful to be here in front of you guys today.
Welcome. We have Oswin from Radisson Blue Hotel in Sydney.
Yeah, sure, Stacey. So, Oswin Ribeiro, I've had 32 years of experience now in the hospitality industry, so it's been a long journey. So originally I come from India, the city of Mumbai, which probably has a population of Australia in one place. So it springs up various challenges by itself. So I worked with an amazing company before I moved to Australia, the Taj Group of Hotels. And that's where I connect with Ovolo a little bit, because I got transferred to the Blue Sydney, which Ovolo later took on to some extent. What's interesting is when you work in a place like India, food and beverage dominates hotels. So when you're looking at the food and beverage component to the accommodation business, you're probably talking of 60-65% food and beverage to probably 40 or 35% of accommodation, whatever be the size of the property. And a lot of that comes through weddings. So I had great experiences doing a lot of those big ones. Back in the past, I moved to Australia back in 2007. Was with the Taj Blue, and then got headhunted by Radisson. So I've been with the Radisson Blue since 2010. so about 14 and a half years there. Most of my career has been in the kitchen, and then, of course, looking at front of house as well. So I've had enough experiences there, now moved into hotel management, and hopefully general management in the future. Some of the key highlights I've had is I've been very fortunate to be working with some great mentors. I've had people who worked with me today owning restaurants and probably operating restaurants in top 50. So it's been really proud, to see them succeed as well. And that gives you a lot of pleasure as you grow in your career as well. So I think that has been probably one of the most better highlights I've had.
Amazing. And Matt, sorry, Sam, you don't really need an intro, do you? Would you like to add anything else?
Hello? Oh, there we go, it's working. No, I think you probably heard everything about me. I mean, I think the only thing I didn't say, I think equally to Matt, I come from a hospitality background. Both my grandparents on both sides were in hospitality. My parents were both teachers and tried to send me and my brother and my sister to university, and we all failed in various spectacular fashions, and are now back in hospitality. My brother's in Tokyo, just opened a bar, and my sister works in Adelaide in hospitality, so it's definitely in the blood.
The blood, for sure, for sure. All right, so we might just dive in with the first question. So Matt, how can hotel food and beverage outlets compete against quality standalone restaurants?
Yeah, this was a challenging question, I suppose, now that I am on the other side of the fence with hotels, and traditionally had always come from independent. Look, I think something that I've quite proud of that we've slowly started to introduce into Ovolo is we are benchmarking with hotels. We do talk a lot about our comp sets and who's in our comp set and who's in our... And on the other side of the fence, we talk about our competitor analysis. Who are our competitors? What is our USP? And I think for hotels to really survive and to continue to challenge the status quo, it's important that we adopt that mindset of owner-operator, that our best people are front and center of everything we do. Our chefs, our managers, our section waiters, our baristas, our bartenders have that sense of ownership in the business, and engagement is absolutely crucial. We've not redefined, but we've certainly coached and mentored our F&B operators to be front and center, to really focusing on community, to focusing on the locals, and to build that rapport. And that's what the Merivales and those great independent standalone operators do really well. They know who their regulars are. The language and the jargon that they use is about guests and VIP, and it's not about customers and transactional sort of language. It's feeling warm and welcome. So I think my recommendation for anyone in this room who is trying to compete with a standalone is get to know your customer, really invest time into your people, and get them front and center, and just push your product. You need to ensure that your product, you're not compromising or cutting corners just because you can get a juice or a loaf of bread, tendered at a certain price. It might not be as good, or it might be an inferior product to something that you could get for a little bit more, but ultimately it's going to deliver a better product, and you're competing with those next to you. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if anyone's been to Zaza Tar in the Brisbane,
Valley.
in the Valley Hotel there, but they do a really great job at positioning themselves, and I really admire that about what you've done there, because as soon as you jump onto their website, it's Queensland's best vegetarian restaurant, and they really own that positioning. And I think your staff deliver that message and that pull through really strong once you're on property. And I love how the restaurant's fully integrated into the design of the full hotel as well. It's very smart. Wonderful. So Oswin, let's jump into technology, because I'm sure it's a hot topic for everyone here. So can you give us some examples of how technology has assisted with your food and beverage operations within the hotel?
Well, coming out of COVID, I think there was so much of tech coming across. It was just jumping 10 years ahead. And I think it was a point where it was, tech fatigue as well, because you had so many people trying to promote products. You know, you wanted tech for this, you wanted tech for that, you wanted to see how
QR codes everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. But you know, being a very traditional style of a hotel operation that we run at Radisson, I think it was trying to find that balance between, okay, you do have tech to manage some aspects of the business, because we all have struggles with staffing, et cetera, et cetera. So how can we create efficiency? You know, how can we also tap into the market that has got tech-friendly, but not overtly do it? Because you still have to have that human connection going through. So we do have QR codes, and I think it's, to a great degree, it's really good, because people can visualize what they're ordering, you know, prior to ordering it, rather than have, you know, somebody who's probably just trained for a week trying to explain a dish, which probably takes a little longer period of time as well. So it does help to that degree. It does help people on the run, for example, who just want to place an order, pay, and, you know, just get a takeaway, for example. But we have not gone overtly into tech to that degree. We do use a few sites for bookings, for example, because one of our products that we're very proud of are the high teas. We probably average around 3,200 high teas a year as well, so that seems to be growing. And to manage that, then we work with Shopify and, you know, book that app kind of processes where it comes down to data collection. So as much data as we can collect, the better for us to analyze the business, to see repeat clients, as Sam mentioned, to some extent as well, to see where we can target our business, you know, because we have huge portfolios of databases where we will market things to. And again, market to the right sources, not just go across, because the last thing you want is to be overloaded with too many messages coming through, which then loses the purpose as well. But one of the new exciting things coming out is going to be in the meetings and event space. So Radisson has recently just trialed out and launched in Europe something called as Radisson Unbound, which is going to be an AI-powered tool where you can do everything from conceptualization to realization of an event on a very different scale. It's something that's unheard of. So they have just about launched it a month ago in Europe, and hopefully we should get it here probably end of the year as well, and something I'm looking forward to, which will take us to another dimension, possibly, in that space. Because in hotels, we rely a lot on meeting and events, you know, for the bread and butter, literally, as you say.
Yes, absolutely. At W Brisbane, we have a great ordering system. It's called Iris. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with it. But yes, it allows the guest to scan the QR code in the room, order as you would with Uber Eats, great photography, menu, items, and then you get to choose when you like it delivered. So if you're working out at the gym, you think you might be another half hour, want to have a shower, so you can set the time, and it's great. We've found it works really well in venues as opposed to having Apple Pay checkout, which some hotels have. But with this ordering system, it goes through to your main account. So if you're a corporate and you're dining in the restaurant, everything can charge back to your account rather than you having to pay separate invoices. And Sam, you mentioned 7 Rooms, talking about technology, great platform for reservations. Do you use that one as well, Matt?
Not yet. So no, we obviously have an existing platform. I won't mention. It's great. It's fantastic. Does all the things that you need it to do. But yeah, obviously have touched 7 Rooms in the past, and it is also a fantastic product and a fantastic line. But yeah, I think the effortless approach, it needs to be effortless. When you're booking in, you don't need to grab. Ideally, scan your driver's license or add credit card capture here and add this and add that and check this and validate that. It becomes tedious, and it needs to be smooth and effortless and just as you'd expect it to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And from a project management standpoint, Monday.com is also an excellent tool to use, particularly from a marketing perspective. If you're running multiple campaigns and you have multiple teams working on them, it's a great tool. It's a great tool. So, next question. Sam, obviously you showcase the amazing venues that you look after. Let's talk more about service and really driving that top line revenue. Have you deployed any tactics that's really helped to drive your average check?
I think because we have quite a diverse business, there's not necessarily like a one touch answer. I think that in a really top line sense, identifying, we use something internally which you may have heard of before called the perfect check, which is every business should have an understanding of what the perfect customer experience looks like, guest experience looks like, and that is how that translates directly to increasing your spend per head. If you know that you're going to a venue and you have to have, you know, this drink or this entree or, you know, some starters and some seafood and then to the main, and then you have to have some sort of aperitif before you move on to desserts. If you get your team bought into that, and then there's, you know, a culture of doing that, and equally an incentive behind that drives it, then that's how you can really instill just like a noticeable increase. And that's obviously makes a lot of sense in restaurants, but definitely works in like casual restaurants as well. In pubs, we have employed a vast array of different things, but we actually take a lot of, historically took a lot of inspiration from the last 3 steps, I believe is what they refer to it as when you're at like a service station, where you kind of have all of the chocolate bars and everything in front of you, and quite often the team are incentivized to kind of go, would you like some, you know, would you like a chocolate bar, or if you're McDonald's, would you like fries with that? So it's like how you can apply that in a beverage sense. You know, would you like to turn your schooner into a pint, or you know, your beer into a Boilermaker? All of those little things that we've done. Matt's smiling. I'm pretty sure he remembers doing some of those. Yeah, so I think it's really going like looking at every service environment and then trying to break down the various different stages of that experience and going, where are we easily winning and where are the gaps and the opportunities, and then building something that like helps the team understand it's easy to execute and they're incentivized to be able to drive it.
I couldn't agree more. And whenever I'm training the team, I say to them, you're not an order taker, guys. You're going to sell me this menu. I'm going to sit down, you're going to sell me this menu, you're going to make it so easy for me. And actually, I was speaking to an attendee just outside, and they said they'd just been to a Merivale venue, and their drinks, as soon as their drinks were low, they came round, another round, guys. And then they said, oh, do you fancy some wings? The chips are great. And they just actually told them what they needed to get. And this group of guys, they said it was the best experience because they didn't need to think. And it was a social environment where everyone's talking, and just to take that pressure away from people to sit down and look at a menu can definitely help drive your average check. So Matt, you've got some great experience. What kind of pitfalls have you seen with food and beverage outlets making mistakes, particularly in marketing?
Yeah, I think I'll just quickly touch back on one of those, the previous ones. I remember there was an example of that average spend per head at establishment. We moved the schooner glasses to the far end of the bar and had the pints directly under the taps. So when we would try and obviously sell you a pint, that was the standard pour. But if a guest said, oh, actually, no, I'll just have a schooner, yep, that's okay. We'd put the pint glass down and we'd proceed to walk to the opposite end of the bar. And 9 times out of 10, the guest said, no, pint's fine, I'll grab a pint, that's okay. And was it a bit cheeky? Was it a bit, yeah, it probably was. But that was, that I suppose, and that was part of the culture of, and we weren't selling the guest short. They were still getting that great product. They were getting more of it. Yes, they were getting a little bit more in the spend per head, but they weren't missing out, and they weren't being ripped off, I suppose. So that was, that brought back some flashbacks just thinking about that then. In terms of marketing, I think I wouldn't necessarily say mistakes. I think, I'm fortunate enough. We've got a fantastic internal marketing team, and our ethos is entrepreneurial. It's hyperbolic. It needs to be crazy. It needs to be left of centre. So we get a lot of bandwidth at Ovolo, a lot of bandwidth to do things. And our CEO, we're very fortunate. If when cliche, but if we're not failing, we're not trying. And he is very approachable and pushes us to try new things, and so does our managing director. So we, sometimes we don't always get it right, for sure, and I think our brands, we are very proud of our USP, we're very proud of our brands and our narratives, and each business in our portfolio, my portfolio, is very different. There is not one in the same. So wearing different hats and approaching how we engage with guests both in venue and externally, using our social accounts as lookbooks, probably lack of a better term maybe, or maybe it is the right.
Fronts?
Yeah, shop fronts, there we go. But it was mentioned before, your photography, the quality of that content needs to be best in class. You need to adopt that best in class mindset. And food and beverage is very different. If you've got those strong brands within your organisation, within your hotel operating, you need to give it a voice. You need to ensure that it is not just being left to the corner and it's just a transactional or just a service in just the hotel. You need to hunt for external business, and you really need to drive that narrative and that culture. It's really important.
Absolutely. Knowing your positioning is key, and just making sure everyone throughout the hotel actually, from the housekeeping staff, through to valet attendants, they know your elevator pitch for your restaurant or your bar. It's really important that there's consistency in messaging, and I couldn't agree more about your content as well. Content is king, as they say. Great. So Oswin, can you please tell us how you build an F&B audience from external guests, not just in-house guests?
Well, when you're looking at a metro hotel, I would probably say that there's not much of a difference between looking at audience from out or in, because people coming into the city are coming for various purposes. It's not as probably regional driven, where you're probably going to a venue as such, where you're going to a particular destination, but you're coming in for various other purposes. So trying to capture everyone from within, you could have probably people staying at your hotel which are working in the city. So if you target them, you're probably targeting somebody from their office as well, or somebody from their venues that they're going to. So we would probably look at that. You're looking at audiences who are attending events and meetings, who are not staying with you, for example, who are here for a day's conference, etc. You try and capture them. But it surely comes down to communication in your marketing, what kind of platforms you're going to be using, for example. We do a lot of campaigns. We won't use so much of ads as such, because being a accommodation hotel, you're probably selling a lot of packages. You would probably highlight a product in your restaurant. And for us, we have a partnership with Bentley's as well. So that really works well, because they do drive in the non-resident customers along with the residents because of the brand value. And that helps us internally as well, because they flow on effects into the bar that we have, and so on and so forth from there. So we do use platforms like the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse, ATDWH, which goes to a lot more sites. From there, it gets distributed automatically, and that has massive reach across Australia. We do use our social media sites as well, to promote products. Our EDMs would be the biggest one, because again, having the massive database, we know exactly where we can target. And EDMs are not particular for people who are probably just staying with us, but it could be a local footprint as well, where you have the database created from. So that's where you'd probably look at driving people who are non-residents into your venues as well. At the same time, for us, probably compared to a lot of other hotels, may be different. We are in a very unique kind of a situation, because ours being a heritage property, the outlets that we have are limited in terms of capacities that we have. And how do we control that? How do we manage that? Sometimes you probably have to put your head in your hands and say, stop. I don't need more, because I don't have more seats.
I've definitely been told to stop before from the operators of the restaurant. No, we've got enough in-house people for breakfast. We don't need any more. But yes, some very valid points there, knowing your local market, really working with your resources. So whether it's your sales teams, your digital teams, your marketing, PR, tap into any resources that you can to get your marketing out there.
But just to add on to that, it does come to how consistent you are in your product offerings. Consistency and quality is key to that. Having that connection going through to people to have that repeat business come through. And that automatically will help you elevate your average checks, your spends. It comes to the experience that you will deliver once you get the people in.
Yeah, just get those people through the doors. Sustainability is a key topic right now. Sam, would you like to explain how you're bringing sustainability messaging to life? How do you talk to it once you're in venue?
I had a good think about this because it's in a business of our size is something that we have, I think approached in a couple of different ways and a couple of different iterations. I think we have taken some, pilot spaces to figure out what works and what doesn't. One of the things I think that we figured out on our journey was, yes, there is some of the piecemeal stuff around, the packaging that you use and, single-use straws and single-use products. And some of that's has obviously been driven by what the government's telling us to do, and some of it's we're choosing to kind of get in front of it. But I think the change that we learnt was that although we are a consumer and a creator of waste, looking both, up the stream as in the people that bring products to us, and then equally with our waste provider, so what goes out of our business, and working really collaboratively with them, because I think the change that we are introducing into our business as far as future state, which is stuff like introducing green waste digesters and that kind of stuff into future builds will future-proof us, but actually going backwards and making changes to the entire business is something that we need to make sure that when we do put something in a bin, that it's actually going somewhere that is going to have a positive impact rather than it all going to one place and ending up in landfill. So that's probably how we have approached it. And then as far as how we talk about it, we've just piloted for the last couple of years successfully within Ivy around, introducing new waste streams. And that's just, making sure that everyone understands it's a priority for the business and it's a change. But it just means, like anything, that you're training people how to pour a beer or what rubbish to put a bin in, it just becomes part of how you talk and how you train.
It's definitely a hot topic for hotels in particular as well. And something that we've recently launched at W Brisbane is conscious cocktails. So I don't know if anyone's heard of Matt Wiley. He's a pioneer in the sustainability space. He's an international bartender and mixologist, and we actually have done a collaboration with him where he's turned 10 ingredients which would otherwise go to waste, and he's repurposed them into luxury cocktails. So a very interesting twist and a way to bring sustainability to life in an experience that hotel guests and local guests can come and have. And from a PR and marketing perspective, it's been incredible. We've had the largest PR share of voice reach from 3 years I've been there. It's been one of the best activations that we've launched so far. But there's definitely some great ways we can contribute to sustainability. And we've got a few minutes left, so just one last question, and I'll hand it over to Matt. We've got some small operators in the room, so any advice? Low cost, high impact food and beverage activities that you would recommend?
Yeah, I think this is where your brand partners really come into play. This is where those relationships and that connection that you have with those, whether it's your wine guys, your beer guys, spirits, whether it's in our kitchens, it's our culinary direction. There is something fashionable.
Free money?
Yeah, there is the free money. There is the funding that comes with it. But you need to build those. Our industry is so small, especially in AU, and relationships are absolutely key to leveraging what you can on the fumes of an oily rag. Run your businesses on the fumes of an oily rag. Leverage everything you can. and partner with the right suppliers and the right partners, and the brands are key. We whilst we're at Ovolo, we are obviously AU, Hong Kong, Indonesia, and expanding, but we still run tight. We don't have the big activation budgets and the big PR spends and marketing spends that some of our competitors do. We run it tight, but we adopt a mindset that do fewer better, and just put the energy and the effort into making sure that you've thought of those touch points, you've thought of everything along the way. Don't just do an off-the-shelf activation and just put it out into the market and just say, we tried, it didn't, be part of the journey, curate from the beginning, have influence on what you do. It's really important, and always, something that it's easier said than done, but it's really important. Put the guest first. What does the guest journey look like during that? How are we interacting with them? What does their path look like to get from advertisement to in venue to that experience at the table? And again, it all falls back to consistency in people, right? Like making sure that your product is sound, strong, and you're engaging and you're really passionate about what you do.
Absolutely, and one thing I love that you guys do, free drinks when you check in. So who's going to say no to that? But the first round is on you, and then you're already at the bar, right? So then it comes down to service delivery, engaging with the guest, and getting that second, third drink, or getting them into the restaurant. So well done with that. Does anyone from the crowd have any questions before we wrap up? No? Okay, great. Thank you so much.
No, I think she...
We got one question. Do you want to get up? Sorry, we got a roving mic. We think we got a roving mic? No? I think they're all up on stage. That's all right. Yeah. Yeah. Up. Yeah, thanks, Sam. Thanks, mate. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's right. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Radha from Sidewinder. Just a quick question around pricing and revenue management. Do you consider early bird pricing to keep the traffic, of your restaurant, and premium pricing for the restaurant? Is that something which you guys would recommend, or is there different thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's a few ways that you can tackle that. And it doesn't always need to be discounted. We definitely like a little value add. Having a set menu perhaps before main service definitely helps. Quite often the early bird diners are the families, so think about how you're catering to that audience.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think for us especially, we're in low season at the moment, lack of a better term. It's quiet, it's cold, you are hunting for every dollar and everything you can through the door. So, our winter approach, our campaigns this year certainly, get them in on an approachable and accessible menu, and then sell at the table, get that extra spend, get that experience, whether it's upselling to Tattinger for, a discounted price, but certainly not leading with those big $150 set menu per head style of menus. They're just, obviously at the moment, they're just not working, right? And the cost of living and everything that's going with that at the moment. So it's about getting them in and adding experiences, I think, for us, and being very conscious of pricing, yes. Absolutely, it certainly was the foundation of our winter campaigns this year, being accessible.
Yeah, another thing that's worked quite well is packages with hotel food and beverage credit, right? So that doesn't limit anyone from spending it purely at the restaurant. They can spend it at the bars. They can have a cocktail by the pool and order in-room dining. So just giving people that flexibility to dine as they wish when they want is definitely something I've seen work really well.
All right, we'll have to wrap it up there. So please thanks the food and beverage panel. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.